Greetings, citizens. Welcome to another week of BlastCast. Of course, with me, as always, is my Bastion of Common Sense Lightning Dragon, who is happily and thankfully looking forward to installing all of his new computer components, which will be arriving this week, so he'll actually have a PC that works fairly well.
Yeah, I just hope I don't, screw something up or it doesn't boot and have to RMA things. I've never had that problem before, but who knows?
Well, here's hoping, because it'd be nice to get back in and do some other game vids with you. Right now, his computer has it has no consistency whatsoever. There's nothing to even compare it to. It just crashes randomly.
Oh yeah, it's
So,
pretty fun.
So, of course, this week there's a lot of things going on. 2.4 is, of course, still only on the PTU. They're on patch P right now. And I probably put anywhere between 5 and 10 hours into 2.4 to kind of test it out. For the most part, it's pretty stable. They still have basically the code 7 disconnects and occasionally a code 0. The disconnects, though, aren't as frequent. You can probably get an hour or two out of gameplay before you get a code 7. Most of the time, and the frame rate is not as good as L or O, but it still is good enough, I think, to play the game. I just hope they can go back to the frame rate, particularly of O, because that one actually got pretty darn good. And well, hopefully we'll see some of those elements coming with the next patch. When the new patch comes out, I'll go ahead and give you guys an update as well on that when I think about it. So. Don't know when that's going to happen though. And of course, the devs said that they are actually right now working on 2.5 as well. So once 2.4 hits the live, you can expect the Evo Kadi group to almost within a day or so probably jumping right into the 2.5. And I imagine 2.5 is going to be even a significantly larger kind of patch because, well, they got 2 months of stuff they've been working on in the background that should already be or have been released, and you're probably looking at with 2.5, which should have been out like at 2.7, because we're already like, 2 months behind now in this patch going live, something like that.
At least. Well, probably at most, actually.
Well, and I can never pronounce his name. Miyu Fumato of CIG.
Wait, who? What?
It's Meohfumado.
Oh, you can't spell things to me. I don't know what you're talking about. Whatever, just continue.
Anyway, this dev from CIG with an amazing.
Don't spell things at me.
Hooked on phonics. He had created a post in the Vanguard forums, especially after the growing awareness of the Ctrl plus Vanguard controversy, about people's. He wanted feedback on the state of the Vanguard, and page after page after page after page, people almost universally said, "Give us the ship we pledged for. We want the treads back. We want the moving parts back. We want the internal missiles. We want the guns or the missile bays underneath the nacelles. We want the smaller, more sleek profile." They talked about how that the guns shouldn't all be on the nose, and how they should be distributed a little bit so one hits the nose doesn't disable all your weaponry. That the turret, for example, should be built with a casing around it so it doesn't look like it's held on by a piece of tape. Things like that. And after page upon page, he responded back with, quote unquote, "Holy cow, lots of good stuff here, folks. Thanks for all this. I'm going to leave the thread up a bit longer before I start collating any feedback. And then, like I've done with other ship threads, I'll post all that's gathered so people have a chance to correct any misconceptions and correct any oversights." So he was kind of taken aback by all the feedback, and it kind of shows that when the initial feedback came out, when the ship came out in the hangars, they were like, "Okay, everyone look at the ship, tell us what you think." And people were saying this stuff back then. They were like, "It's wrong. It doesn't look right. It doesn't look like the ship we pledged for." And then they went, "Okay, thanks, guys."
People paid for a Ferrari, but people got a discount Lamborghini instead.
Right.
It still cost the same, but it wasn't what you bought.
Well, people made all these comments about what was wrong with it. And what happened? They made the bathroom bigger.
The bathroom bigger?
They made the bathroom... Oh, yeah, and they made it transparent, so now you can watch your guy you're flying with take a dump.
Oh,
so
my!
So these are real advancements for the Vanguard. the ability to your teammate poop and have more headroom to do it. So anyway, so that was the big change that they kind of made on that. And so they've talked about everything like look at all this open space you have in the back. Some guy talked about how you should have like on the back ramps, you should have like two kind of motorcycles that are back there. So if you land on a planet, your guys can get out and drive down the ramp and explore a planet. And I thought that's a cool idea. You know, they got room on the sides and the back of the ramps, like have some sort of hover bike or motorcycle there. So that's kind of sweet. Some guy talked about how that the front neck is there's so much space there that why don't they have like ammo cases like sitting there for like the Gatling guns and that, you know, so the ship
Or the Marines, you're supposed to wait. Are we talking about the same ship?
no talking about the
No,
Vanguard.
no, Vanguard, right? First, I'm sorry. There's the other ship that's coming up later.
Oh,
I
yeah.
got confused.
And it talked about how that the basically the ship doesn't boom and it doesn't zoom, and they went through everything. It was amazing watching so many people come out and just say pretty much the same thing and offer them suggestions, like saying, "Look, this is what you need to do to fix it. This is what you can do to make it better," and laying it out for them. And one thing that anything you can learn from like when the next great starship came out is that the people that have passion for this game can really bring a lot to the table. Think of all the ship innovation and design that came out from the next great starship. All the concepts and things that CIG never even considered doing until all these modelers came out and said, here's how we would do it. And then suddenly you
Oh, yeah, and
saw,
there's YouTube videos of the
oh
actual
yeah,
3D models.
yeah. I mean, these kind of things when people come out and they just sometimes this kind of thing it's really great because you know, you have with anything with suggestions, you can't see everything. You know, when you're in an environment, when you're working in an office, you know, you're only talking to the same people. Everyone's kind of got their own ideas, and to step outside of that, man, that is just such a helpful tool, and that's what I love about the community. So hopefully they'll take these to heart. Hopefully they'll take these to heart, and we'll get something a lot closer to the ship we pledged for. Because not only was this the biggest selling ship that CIG had, but so many people were upset by it that they have flat out said that they'll stop pledging until CIG actually fixes the ship and brings it back to what they bought. So this is only in their best interest to get this ship the way it's supposed to be. Now, the last and kind of main topic, if you will, I wanted to go over today is something that Matt Sherman had brought out today, well, not today, a couple days ago, about changes in hardpoints and how to replace turrets or man turrets and in ships. That's going to, gosh, it's going to throw so many things out of whack. Basically, for example, right now you have, let's use the Hornet, Lightning's favorite ship.
Oh, it's ugly.
And you have that turret in the back, which has two size 2 guns, and you can replace it with a fixed forward mount for one size 4, or now they're going to have it so you can get a splitter so you can put 2 fixed size 3s. But the thing is that the damage rating between, let's say, a size 1 and a size 2 is about 153%. So you're actually at an advantage from taking that size 4 down to 2 size 3s. And what this would mean, essentially speaking, and I've got a lot of great quotes here from people on the forums who really, really kind of just, I think, brought it out. The Face, of course, one of my favorite posters on here, really just kind of showed how this is going to just basically throw things nuts. The Hornet can have 3 times twin link size 2, so that's 6 size 2s, and 1 twin link size 3 for 6. So basically, that's 2 size 3s. So 6 size 2s and 2 size 3 totals. That's insane. You know, if you see a point of light in space, that actually might not be a star. It might be a Hornet firing at you. Do not go into the light, because that is just,
You're blind. I'm blind.
and
Oh man, I have the perfect link for that. I'll send that to you, and then I'll have this muttering about the link that you've already shown. It'll be great.
it sure will. And of course, this big ships like the Vanguard, you know, if you have that size 5 mount, which has that gimbal size 4, then you'll be able to equip 2 fixed size 4 Gatlings side by side on the nose which is a little bit of helpful to them. But your size 2s that are fixed inside the nose, you could never even split those to size 1s, which would be a damage increase because they're built into the ship. So Vanguard, in this sense, loses out from this arrangement. Once again, kind of putting it into a worse state. They talked about how you replace man turrets with these points, and how that changed things as well. And basically, they already talked about increasing the retaliator. It right now has size 1 guns on the turrets, which is ridiculous. I think they said they were going to increase them to size 2. But if you were to go ahead and replace those with double fixed non-manned, the thing would probably have like 10 size 4 guns pointing forward. Wow. I mean, I know it's not a dogfight or anything, but any heavy ship in front of that's going to take a beating. Um, so, but I think the most ridiculous one by far is the all-new Death Star, the Redeemer, the next great Death Star. Because
The next great Death Star. It's more round than you can possibly imagine.
That's no moon. It's a Redeemer. So changing out all the bad turrets on this and all the gun changes they said they were going to have. Let's see here. Who's the one who posted this here? This is Tiber Valens from the forums. So with a new system, you'd end up with 4 size 6 guns, 1 size 5, and 2 size 2s, or 8 size 5s, 2 size 4s, and 2 size 2s. That's ridiculous. I mean, the amount of firepower. I mean, everyone sees a Redeemer. They're gonna wet themselves and run because that ship is just gonna kill everything in space. So as you can see,
Just point in the general direction.
it just they have shotguns now.
Oh, there you go. You don't have to. You just shotgun everything.
Just make sure all your weapons are shotguns and just point the general in front of you. Just pull the trigger. He's like, it's just almost a little version of Death Blossom.
In Star Trek, the Doomsday Machine, right? The Planet Destroyer.
Oh yeah.
That was from the original series or something.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. It'd be the Doomsday device, aka the Redeemer.
So the situation with this is that while on the surface, the ships that get the most advantage out of this are the ones with the turrets. They've already shown it. There was a linear progression shown, and I think I'll go ahead and link the picture here. How basically ships with turrets are actually what they had before. They actually got weaker as the progression went along. From how their system worked. With this one, they actually get more linear and stay more consistent. So that's good. But they're going to have to rework and really evaluate and look at the sizes of every mount on every ship. Because what they have going right now with this system is going to make, well, there's already a ridiculous amount of firepower on a lot of these ships. And at least that's the way I feel about it.
Cough, Hornet, cough.
And there's no real reason for you to mix and match weapon types, physical or energy. You're better off monoboating. So
unless we
the
get
energy
the pipeline system
right.
or energy system. If anybody that's played any MechWarrior games, your MechWarrior had so much heat it could build up, and you could lower it with heat sinks. I don't know what the Star Citizen equivalent to that would be, but basically, if your core reactor got too hot, you'd go into an auto shutdown, and it would cool down to a certain point, and then you'd be given control again, kind of like blacking out, but you're still awake for all this. Or you could manually override it and run the risk of basically melting all your subsystems and potentially blowing your ship up as you completely power your core. You overload the core. Now, unless they want to put a MechWarrior system into the game to fix some of these balance issues, which I wouldn't care. I mean, it worked for MechWarrior, but unless they do something to balance out how much damage potential you have, especially with energy weapons, then it's going to be pointless to we just designed a new weapon. We just designed a new weapon hardpoint mount until you can get the basics down. What is it with I keep wanting to say karate, but there's tons of different martial arts. You learn the basics. You have to know the basics to learn the advanced stuff. And Star Citizen, there's basics, huh? They throw that shit out the window, and they're like, I want to learn the freaking hurricane kick, and then they just kick everybody in the face, and they're like, "Ow, what the fuck are you doing, you asshole?" I know that's a big tangent there, but
Having taught martial arts, I got a good visual of that
that's
because
why I picked that one.
having judged for the AAU in Austin and San Antonio many moons ago, and seeing so many people come out there, and especially judging weapon forms, watch people practically trip and impale themselves on their weapons, I can't help but get a giggle off of that visual. So yeah, the situation here is that I understand they're trying to go for a more universal approach to things, and I get that. I get that. And that's fine. But they're really gonna have to step back and say, let's reevaluate maybe the sizes of the guns on ships, like we've talked about before. We talked about the arms race at the bottom quite a few times. And they're gonna have to realize that, this is not going to work set up this way, and they're going to have to really, with the pipeline systems coming out, we're going to have to see, like, okay, for example, say you split a gun that's a size 4 into two size 3s. Maybe you make one physical, you make one energy, and in that case, you have a nice setup for shields are down. Now let's do hull damage. And as I said, we've talked about this before. The energy weapons should be good at shields, do little damage to hull. Physical weapons should do little damage to shields, massive damage to hull, and that's how you create you start creating some differentiation
Instead
between
of
weapons.
having the trifecta, like,
Right.
healer, tank, and what's the other one, DPS,
Yeah.
you basically have a yin-yang system, because there's only two types of damage right now. Now, they could bring out, heat damage, radiation damage, physical damage, and all that other stuff, and then specialize the armor, and then specialize your shields. You wanted just a general purpose shield, you wanted an advanced shield. But the problem they have right now is they don't have the fundamentals. They need all the basic stuff working, and then they can go, okay, these things all work, and then they can
Right.
expand on that.
And that's why, for the most part, we're still waiting on that pipeline, because without the pipeline, without having power systems that really actually affect anything worthy of your time, without having things like fuel and things like transference of energy in your ship and damaged components, instead of just ships just flat out working until they explode. Uh, the thing is that without these in there, the game is still, for the most part, relatively speaking, a tech demo. We need to have these systems coming in, and I really hope that 2.5 brings these pipelines in, because we're still flying with XMLs. They've already stated flat out the hit points on ships are arbitrary. They just type numbers in. Shield values arbitrary. Everything is arbitrary for the most part, and so they kind of like just kind of give their best guess. And I think once you get the pipeline and it starts calculating the actual mass versus thrust, you're going to find that every single ship in the game will fly different. Everything will be faster or slower, or turn quicker or slower, or have more drift or have less drift. Everything's going to be completely different. So whatever you're playing right now, expect it to change big time. And as one of the devs said, they're not going to do any major changes until they're ready to rip the Band-Aid off. So hopefully that Band-Aid includes several systems, which I feel are imbalancing to the game. But I think they're waiting on that pipeline, and that's my optimistic hope, because there is a lot of things that still need to come to fruition to really get the feel of what Star Citizen is. But anyway, guys, I'll go ahead and leave a link to some of these things down below. And if you have any comments about any of these situations, any of these things we talked about today, feel free to go ahead and leave them down in the comments below. I'm getting a lot of positive response about these kind of discussions. And, I try to bring good news when I can, and I try to bring bad news when I have to. But I always try to be honest with you guys and tell you what I feel about something, and how we see things, and really kind of give you, I think, the most relevant information we can from week to week. So anyway, guys, this is Jarvis and Lightning Dragon, and we'll catch you next week. Thanks for listening, citizens.
Hopefully with better news.
With better news.
Woo! All right, bye, everybody.
Bye. Greetings, citizens. Well, it's time for another patch report. I didn't report on O, but I was going to make a video on that, but I logged in this morning, and P was up. So as you can see here, the ship still hangs in the air, and they haven't resolved that issue yet.